Hi friends, welcome to Life Lessons. Today I'm with Stefan. Hi Stefan, how are you?
Hi, how are you? The question I have for you, Naraka, today is based on the current situation that we're sort of dealing with. Personally, for me, I do a career for 22 years out of the 27-year war, and for me, a situation like this is not unusual because we've sort of dealt with it through our work stuff. However, I find that a lot of millennials and a lot of younger people who have opened businesses are kind of completely lost at the moment because they're like, okay, what do we do? Because this was completely unencountered. It was something quite out of the blues for them. How would you suggest that people in that situation sort of deal with this current?
Oh yeah, Stefan, it's a good question. Actually, there is a saying in the British military: when the going gets tough, the tough gets going.
Okay.
Right. So whatever happened has happened. But there is a lot of uncertainty, a lot of doubt, and a lot of insecurity around. But it is a time that we need to be mindful and focused towards us rather than outside. Because in a situation like this, there are things that we can control, there are things that we cannot control. So once we focus on the things that we can control, definitely we can enhance the circle of the things that we can control. So I think the short answer to your question is, this is the time that we individually have to focus on our strength rather than that our the things that we cannot control. So in that way, we can easily find solutions for whatever the challenges we are having.
I guess on the overall, it sounds right, but at the end of the day, like a lot of these kids come from a very sort of
soft environment,
extremely soft, and also I think a lot of them come from a highly sort of tech-based, like everything is virtual.
Yeah.
Whereas like all of a sudden they've got to get on the ground, and they're nothing that they've been used to is of use to them anymore, because now the situation is it's really on ground.
Yes.
Like you got to really seriously deal with something, and also I think you're thinking out of the box is very important at this point, because
That's right.
nothing they've been taught up to now is sort of is working for them. So so what you're suggesting is, I guess, a rethink.
Yes, rethink, and we need to embrace the change because the change has happened already, and change is happening because every day we are getting news and things which will enhance the uncertainty and doubt. Because media is bombarding with lots of information, as you said, because for these tech kids, I mean, they are updating with information on social media and all other aspects. But while having all these things, we need to run. And we need to find our customers, we need to straighten our customers. Sometimes we have to get rid of the fear, not only for us, but for our customers as well. So this is the right time for us to beat the competition. In that angle, I think, we can find much more solutions.
Okay. Two things that spring from that is, one was beat the competition, and the other thing is customers.
Yeah.
Now, personally, a situation that I found on one hand a little difficult to deal with, and on the other hand completely head on with is the fact that certain customers, now I'm personally in a trade where we service customers, so it's in the hair, it's in the it's in the body, it's in the food area, and there are customers who have taken, not directly maybe our customers, but outside people who've taken great offense at why are you all advertising so fast? Why are you all trying to? The country is still grieving. How can you move on so fast? And to me personally, like the answer is, look, it's a very real situation where people need to be paid salary, so you have no choice but to move on. No matter what anybody thinks about it, or how bad the situation is. Right? But that's personal. But again, that comes from a perspective where I've had kind of the experience to be able to say that without worrying. The other side is, like when you said beat the competition. Now, might that be perceived as slightly insensitive given the moment to take, because it's very clear that there is political mileage that's being gained off this, right? It's very clear, right, that people are gaining political mileage off this at this moment, right? So in that same way, like where we view it as not right, as wrong, is it right to gain business mileage of something that's sort of?
Stefan, okay. Answer to that question is this. As I said, now let's take me as an example, because I'm not responsible for what has happened, because it's out of my responsibility. But it's my responsibility to run my business, look after my employees, and look after my customers, and look after my family members. Right? So I cannot say, I cannot tell my employees, I cannot pay your salaries because there's whatever has happened in the country. Because I'm responsible to pay their salaries and look after them. I'm responsible to look after my family, my spouse and my children. So now I have to, not taking advantage, I have to bounce back from what has happened. So in order to do that, as you said, in any business, there are customers who are having wants and needs. So this is the ideal time to target or focus on customers' needs rather than wants, and take the mileage on that. So I personally think that is exactly what we have to do, because if we lose the momentum of the economy of the country, right? If we lose the momentum of the economy of the country, then the damage would be much further or much wider than what has happened now, right? So it's up to us to continue with our work rather than grieving is important, but if we grieve continuously by forgetting not focusing on our work, I think that is something that we shouldn't do.
I mean, I'm in complete agreement with that, because I think anybody who runs a small business understands
Yes.
that it's important to move on. Also, the fear psychosis factor. Now, the fear psychosis is that people are avoiding malls, people are avoiding hotels. Okay, hotels I'm not going to touch on, because at the end of the day that's a whole different thing altogether. But okay, shopping malls. So many people have opened businesses in shopping malls,
Correct.
right?
Correct.
And I mean, I know employees who are nervous to go to work. So
Correct.
I can imagine the fear psychosis where customers are concerned.
Correct. Correct.
In a situation like that, what would you from a business perspective?
Let me answer from the employer's perspective as well as the customer's perspective, both. The business perspective, what we need to do is, we have to again think differently, because in 2008 and 2009, if you can remember, I can remember, like many adults in this country can remember, there were lots of challenges, because it's in the height of the war, and there were news coming that any moment the city can be blasted, and there are air attacks coming from like every other day. So we all have to go back and memorize, think during that time how we worked, how we really focus on our work. Businesses were really driving, or I would say thriving. And
I agree.
And war, yes, war and attacks and blasts and explosives, everything that we hear. So as adults, or rather, the word I use adults, because the kids, who are not remember that time. As adults, we need to guide them, advise them, and bring them back to the mindset that we have been. That's 2008 and 9. And again, we need to remind our past, how we worked during that time. And that is very important. That is from the business side, business perspective. Customer's perspective, we cannot tell customers to come because that's their mindset.
Of course.
But we can again think differently. Rather than customer comes to us, we can go to customers in different ways. In many businesses now, there are, because of the technology, in many businesses we can go to customers. and we can start developing methodologies to go to customers. Let me share an example with you. This happened actually not in Sri Lanka, many years back in US during the Gulf War. During the Gulf War in California, the vehicle sales were going down, and vehicle dealerships had a lot of problems because new vehicles were not selling. So one person, a car salesman, he thought differently. What he did was he drove a brand new Lexus to a golf club nearby, and then he offered the key to few golfers and said, this is the latest model of Lexus, why don't you have a driving experience? So he managed to give the driving experience like about 10-15 potential customers. You know what happened? 80% of them bought the car. Because once you drove a new car, a brand new car, that experience is always there. And when you get into an old car, you feel that that is inferior. So similar things that we can do with the current situation. So taking the advantage and beat the competition with that. Because rather than grieving, we need to find new solutions and new options with this.
Yes, I think for sure, I think you have no choice in this instance but to do that. Because see, also a lot of people who work for bigger companies, like what I notice is on Facebook and other social media platforms, they talk about working remotely. But then when you're in the service industry, you can't work remotely because you're actually servicing a customer. So I mean, it's easy to say if you have the luxury of doing that. But then the other thing is, if you don't, you absolutely don't. One last thing that I would like to ask you is that from a family perspective, now everybody talks about this current situation, of us being in. There is no rule of war like there was before. Right? There's no rule of war. It's basically a free fall.
That's right.
Nobody knows where, when, what, how, and anybody is a target.
Yes.
And everything is a target.
Correct.
Like this is another situation where even when you're sort of advertising or you're coaxing somebody or you're bringing something forward, you're always conscious of the fact that you're saying or you're thinking, look, how do I say this without sounding or without it sounding completely wrong if something goes wrong? Like say for instance, like okay, you knew in the past there were certain things that were not targets, but now those very things that were not targets are the targets. You know what I mean? So a lot of, in a situation like that, like say for instance, like like I have employees who say, look, my parents don't want me coming to work, right? Because they just don't feel comfortable. So now I see a lot of small businesses suffering with this problem as well, because firstly, you can't force an employee to come to work.
Yes.
The second thing is that do you tell that employee then, okay, fine, if you don't come to work, well then I have no choice but to, because everybody's working under the same circumstances. So there is no reason why you should be given special treatment, right? So how in a situation like that is that, have you dealt with it?
Stefan, let me bring an example to this. Parents don't push their children who are going to hospitals to work, let's say nurses, doctors, and maybe the attendants. Parents don't stop them.
That's a great point, actually. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Why? Parents know the importance of the value of the job, right? Or the family members.
Yeah.
And those days during the height of the war, when soldiers go to do their job, right? Their family members didn't stop them. I mean, probably they may not come alive from that.
And we know so many didn't,
Because the family members knew the value of it.
Yeah.
So the best thing that we can do as employers is to create that value in the employee's mind so that they can go home and pass the same message to their loved ones, right? That means if we create a mindset that you are an important person or you work to make the world a better place, right, through this business, through this work, then employees are in a different mindset. And when they go and share the same experience or the same thought, same mindset with their loved ones, they also think that my husband, my wife, my father, my daughter, my son, They are important people at this moment. So by creating that, that internal fear will get away up to a certain extent, up to a bigger extent. At the same time, we need to show that we are vigilant. Because with the moment we show them to our family members that I'm vigilant, I'm always very focused, I'm looking for suspicious things, and I'm not spending much time in a dangerous places. I just go to work and come back. So actually that was a mindset that we had in 2006, 7, 8, 9.
Absolutely.
We have created that because we made sure that after work we are coming home, we are not going anywhere.
Yep.
So it's the same thing that we need to create in our employee, the millennials mindset, as you said.
Yeah.
And we have to create the same mindset, and with that we can move on, not by 100%, but up to a great extent we can move on.
Okay, this I promise is my last question, right? This, what people consider unimportant businesses, right? Now, for instance, a club or a restaurant, a high-end restaurant, not basically high-end restaurant or some kind of a bar is considered sort of frivolous or unimportant, or maybe a luxury service, which is not considered an important service, right? And also where they say, okay, it's incorrect to do so. A lot of people don't understand that there are employers who need to pay employees. So we've covered that area as well. So, and along with that comes this, like this time frame, like how soon before is it all right to go back into, because I think where the employer is concerned, it's immediate is the most important time,
exactly,
right?
Stephen.
But how do you not make it look sort of like, something that's ugly, or how do you not make it
But I
look?
don't believe this importance and unimportance,
Okay.
because every business is important to me, right?
Yes.
Because even entertainment
Yes.
is needed. Let me give you another example. If you watch the movie Ashoka, where Shah Rukh Khan plays the main role, right?
Okay.
In that movie, you will see because as the King Dharmashoka, actually is the King Ashoka before becoming Dharmashoka, he goes to the war. At the end of the war, because with the sunset, the war stops. What he does is, actually there is a sauna made, in the battlefield, where there are temporary tent areas, and King Ashoka is in the sauna, and he's having a bath, and he's having all this music, entertainment, everything, because he is planning the next day with that soothing environment. So entertainment is needed to create the peace in the mind, create take the fear out of the mind. I think this is my personal view as an expert and as a authority of the subject. Again, nowadays we shouldn't get away with the entertainment. We should bring back the entertainment, because that will reduce the fear. But with that entertainment, we need to create vigilance. Vigilance is very, very important. Absolutely. So with vigilance, once we bring back the normal life to the people, and they will be much more energetic and much more productive with their work.
Okay, I think I've covered as questions as I think I need to know. Thank you, Narak, again.
Okay, great.
Thanks so much. Okay.
Meet up again.
Okay.
Thank you.